Oven ribs are great, but let's be honest, they pale in comparison to the real deal smoked for hours version that our favorite barbecue place prepares. So my monumental goal for this video is to come up with a way to prepare ribs that have that signature smoky flavor with just a crappy oven. Good thing for you, I've spent hundreds of dollars over the years perfecting this recipe, so you don't have to. This is Kitchen Serious. I'm gonna create a unique brine that will mimic the flavors of a smoker. I've used coffee for as long as I can remember to flavor everything from desserts to meats. So coffee is gonna be what anchors this recipe. For my rib brine, I'm gonna start with a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of table salt, and you guessed it, 3 cups of strong black coffee. To this, I'm adding one ingredient you just can't leave out if you're going for that smoky flavor, liquid smoke. I'll be adding 4 ounces of liquid smoke here, that's the size of a small bottle. Followed by 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and since this coffee was freshly brewed, getting the sugar and salt to dissolve is not going to be an issue. If you're using cold coffee, just heat up 1 cup to dissolve first before adding the remaining 2 cups. Finally, I'm adding a 1/2 cup of water. In this case, it's about 7 of these ice cubes. These also help cool down the brine before we use it, which you always want to do. While that's cooling, let's prepare our baby backs. On the back of the ribs, there's this membrane that I always remove. It can be a little difficult to locate at first, but the easiest way I've found is to gently tuck a dull knife or a spoon underneath and pull it outwards. Or sometimes, as in this case, you can get your finger under there. This will give you just enough room to start pulling the membrane off. Another technique is to loosen up one of the ends, if you can find it, and grab it with a paper towel to pull the rest off. This can be hit and miss, but with a little patience, you can hopefully remove it with 1 or 2 pulls. Now that that's off, I like to trim off any excess fat and extra silver skin that I see. Don't get too carried away with removing every ounce of fat. You don't want to do that because, let's face it, fat is flavor. Now I'm going to divide the rack into 2 pieces. It just makes it easier for me to brine these. These stringy portions that have kind of a pearlescent look to them, that's called silver skin. And it's about as appetizing as shoe leather. Now it's time to slip these into the brine, so I've got a nice 2-gallon bag that works well for this. And as a quick aside, my buddy Troy sent me a link to an interesting product that holds these Ziploc bags open for you. You may even have this in a kitchen drawer somewhere, I don't know, but look, I don't buy anything without doing my homework, so I had a few questions like, why is this so important?
And the reason this is so important is like meal prepping or doing a recipe or whatever. So you measure out your ingredients, you dump it all in, it doesn't fall over.
What about bags that are bigger than my hand?
Here we've got a big old gallon size, way bigger than my hand.
What if I drop a really heavy thing?
So this is a really heavy thing. You guys, it doesn't fall.
All right, smarty pants, what about garlic salt?
We'll try another one. It doesn't fall.
Man, I'm starting to think I might probably use this a lot.
I literally use this probably 5 times a week.
Okay, well, now it just sounds like you're wasting plastic bags.
Then when you're ready for it to pull out,
Oh, Jesus, this is a family show.
it can fit in something itty bitty tiny. I'll show you.
No, please don't.
You guys, it's maybe an inch.
Okay. Yeah. All right, I've got them on order. I'm going to order these, and I'll let you know what I think. If you want to try them, I've got a link in the description. Let's get back to it. Try to get these fully submerged in the brine, but if you're not able to, just make sure and rotate these halfway through the brining process. Total brine time should be 6 to 8 hours. Definitely no longer than 8 hours, so preparing these before bed would be perfect, so long as you get them out first thing in the morning. While those are brining, we can now work on the rib rub, which is a vital part of pulling this whole thing off. So we start with 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons garlic powder, 2 tablespoons onion powder, 2 tablespoons of cayenne pepper, and yes, this is a lot. You may want to just omit this or have it or quarter it. I like my rub pretty spicy, so I'm going to go with 2 tablespoons of cayenne pepper. But know that this is way more than normal. Next to this, we've got 2 tablespoons paprika, 2 teaspoons ground mustard, 1 tablespoon of chipotle powder, 1 tablespoon cinnamon, 1 teaspoon allspice, 1 tablespoon ground cumin. Lastly, let's not forget 2 tablespoons of kosher salt and a tablespoon of black pepper. With all this measured out, I'm going to now add it to a bowl and give it a good mix. And just something I usually do is put it right back on the parchment paper and give it a good press. This just ensures that there aren't going to be any massive lumps. It's essentially sifting your spices. And just so you know, this rub mix makes enough for a couple racks of ribs. Once the ribs are out of the brine, I'm going to pat them down a little bit. Now is also a good time to preheat the oven to 225. Now for the fun part, we get to put our rib rub to work. If you did mix it all in one container, know that you just need about half of this. Now that we're done coating these, we're going to wrap them in some foil, meat side up, and into the oven they go for about 4 hours. Keep in mind this is an approximation, so there are some visual cues you're going to want to use. So after about 3 hours, I like to finish them up uncovered and crank the heat up to around 450. This is going to kind of help develop that crust that goes on ribs when they're in the smoker, known as bark. You'll also see that we've lost that reddish color and it's taken a much more deeper brown color. That's how I know they're where I like them. And I've always been more of a dry rub guy with a little bit of sauce on the side as opposed to slathering them up with sauce. If you are a sauce person and you like Asian inspired recipes, here's a quick sauce that is quick and super delicious with these ribs. So if you love smoky ribs and you don't have a smoker, this is a grand slam, you guys. Thanks for hanging out in Kitchen Serious. I'll see you guys next time.